I don't never ask like, what are your strengths? Like, I never ask that question. I always ask like, what are you interested in? What is your, like, what are you looking to learn in this? And generally, I think if people are good at something, they are interested in it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 1, 2, 3 Teamwork. Today, I have with me Sue-Ann. Sue-Ann, welcome. Great to have you. Maybe you can introduce yourself briefly to our viewers.
Thank you, Anna. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me. So, hi everyone. I'm Sue-Ann. I'm currently working in Google Cloud, in the strategy and operations team. I've been at Google for 3 years now, and the great thing about Google is that you can pretty much do anything you want. From I previously was in the global business operations side, and now I'm in the cloud space. But my career was a bit longer than that, and kind of took a little bit of a meandering path. So I spent 10 years in the Singapore military. I was in combat engineers and in the intelligence force. And then after 10 years, I was like, I need to know more about the business world and to know that PE stands for private equity and not physical education. So I went to business school and went to McKinsey, which is where I met Anna. Great knowing you, by the way, Anna. And after 3 years, decided also to make a switch to Google. So here I am.
Awesome. Here you are in the show with us. So exciting. So good to catch up with you. Hey, first question we always ask, can you share with us an example of inspiring or memorable teamwork?
I think the example, I would think of like more of anecdotes versus examples, because it might be interesting to me, but irrelevant to the viewers. But what I've noticed through, like, regardless of whether I was in the military or in McKinsey or in Google now, one of the few things that I always feel about amazing teamwork is you get into a flow. So it's when, let's say, I would say generally about 5 to 10 people will be the critical mass, and everyone just kind of gets what they're doing. There's a very, very clear goal and where you're heading towards, and you transcend the self. I think like you put yourself behind, and you kind of have each other's backs. Like you don't have politics. You just have very clear understanding of, okay, this is all where we're going to go to. These are all our strengths, and we're going to get there. And everyone just works towards that similar cadence and pace to reach their goal. Where one person falls short, there's no blaming. It just someone else just picks up the slack. So I think that's what I've noticed in all the great like teamwork that I've been in. So not a specific example, because like some of them are quite mundane, I would say, but like it's always this common thread that I've noticed.
Yeah. I know from as long as I know you, some of your examples are mundane and other examples are classified. So that's why we stick to these insights. But that's awesome. Yeah, really cool. Really cool. Okay, so then, having worked in teams, so in such diverse settings, right? Like, what have you in general like found very challenging or most challenging about working together in teams?
I think, when we talk about diversity, we always think about like gender, ethnic, and cultural diversity. Interestingly enough, those are not to me, the areas where in fact, I think those are always enhancers to teams. I think, at least personally, the biggest challenges I faced is when we have different personality types. So, like, if you think of the Myers-Briggs, where you are like the MBTI, right? Like, I'm an I, someone's an extrovert. I need to process my thoughts internally, and extrovert needs to process it externally, and they just need to talk through things. So that's where, like, generally I would find challenges, because when you're trying to work through something, the introverts need time to kind of formulate their thoughts and need time to just to, think through issues, whereas extroverts need to talk it out. And sometimes I find myself kind of just sitting there and letting extroverts talk at me. Because that's how, like, I've literally had somebody say, he was talking and I was trying to do my work, and he said, is nobody listening to me? And I was like, fine, I will go up there and listen to you, just because you need someone to just like articulate your thoughts to. And that's teamwork as well, right? Like, you just kind of mash your personalities and be like, okay, how can I help you? If you want me to just be there standing while you sound off at me, I can do that as well. But yeah, I think that's always been the biggest challenge. The other one is where like I'm quite a stickler for deadlines. And when I have someone who says, I'm going to do this and they don't do it, like that really, like to me, it's like, if you're going to say you can do something, you got to do it. If you don't do it, then I get upset. And that's where like the biggest challenge to me is because it's a personality difference, right? Like,
right.
It's never about the typical diversity angles that you're thinking of. It's always like personality challenges. Yeah.
Right. But when you say like deadlines, do you also mean if it's done, if it needs to be done by Friday, do you prefer to do it by Monday or by Thursday evening?
Oh, so I'm flexible on that. Like to me, so I'm actually thinking, because I know like, someone who likes to work under pressure, they'll do it on Thursday. Someone who likes to have a lot of time to prep, they do it on Monday. But it's where you say they can do it on Friday and you don't do it on Friday. That's where.
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Then I agree.
You got to hold your word. Yeah.
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 Right.
Because then otherwise trust is broken and it's very hard to regain that.
Right. Right. Understood. Agree. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it. After all this experience you've had in working with teams, like what is your secret ingredient to successful teamwork?
So personally, my style is that I try to identify, because as I said earlier, right, like the biggest challenge is personality. I think my secret ingredient for myself, at least, is that I'm very adaptable. So I would try to in a very short span of time, identify that person's working style and adapt myself to that so that I can bring out the best in them. Because to me, I always see like, in a team, everyone has different strengths. Right. And what you want to achieve really is to bring out those people's strengths to bring the best of them to that work, right? And I try to adapt my own style to suit that. So like even in the early example where if an extrovert needs someone to talk at, I'm happy to be that person if I can spare the time, because that brings out the best in them.
Right.
So right. I'm very adaptable generally, and I always want to see like this person is very strong in this area. Like this is where we need to deploy that person.
So how do you do that when you have 3-4 people that you're working with and they're all different and sort of like, or you would be the leader and they look at you like, are you adapting to all of them at once, or how do you go about it then?
Yes, you do adapt to them all at once in many ways. So like, let's say we're working on a team project together. Someone is very good at data. You don't put the person who's like, I personally am not like a data engineer, right? So I wouldn't be like putting it for myself. I mean, ask the right questions, but I wouldn't be like, I'm going to go try dig up the data. I'm going to ask the person who's really good at that to do it for the entire team. And the person is really good at synthesizing. They would be the ones who be like, hey, can you help with this part? And like personally, I'm very good at like bringing everything together. So then I bring in like different thoughts and different perspectives and different stakeholders. That's generally my take. So like, I think the important part is really identifying where people's strengths are and then trying to pull that in, right, to the task at hand. So it depends on really what you have at hand. If they're asking for like insights, then you really got to get someone who's very good at pulling information, and then someone who's very good at asking the right questions. Right. And synthesizing that as well. So
and you were saying like you're good at quickly understanding what people are good at. Like what's your trick there? How do you see that so easily, so fast?
One is if they show me their past work. Another is if they talk about it. So you ask them like, hey, what are you interested in? I don't never ask like, what are your strengths? Like I never ask that question.
Right.
I always ask like, what are you interested in? What is your like, what are you looking to learn in this? And generally, I think if people are good at something, they are interested in it.
Yes, agree.
So
wow, Sue-Ann, this is it already. We have short time, but it's so good to have you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Anna. I didn't realize time flew by.
It's awesome. Have a good day. Thanks, Sue-Ann. Bye.
Bye.